There they are, freshly unloaded. I've got some cob in those buckets down there, see if they'll get started. And I'll leave them in here for a couple hours so they can just get used to the idea and calm down before one heads every direction and goes a little bit berserk. They're chilling out. They go in and out and in and out of the trailer. That's part of their life now. They get hauled back and forth a bit. Nobody's interested in cob. They're a little bit nerved up. But it'll come. And yeah, it's time. You see, when they get close to 6 months old, you're going to end up with a maturing heifer, and then you end up with the bull trying to breed them and stuff. So it's time for them to be separated. Not a day too soon by the look of it. Yeah, look at that. So everybody's jumping on this one, so she must be maturing just a tad. Don't spill the cob. Didos. She's quite pettable. She'll come and ask for a pat, actually, but none of the other ones have decided that I'm safe yet. I don't know why she's doing the kicking her belly. Bugs. Not too much cob to start with. Well, same as last year. If you were with me last year when we did those calves, you can give them something called acidosis. You give them too much of that right off the bat. They don't have the enzymes to cope with it in their stomach yet, and so there's only a couple of handfuls in each bucket, and we'll see if they decide. Let's see if we can pat Dots for you. Come here, Cowie. Want to tickle? No. Too grumpy. You see, I want them to get used to that trailer, and then so the trailer's not a bad thing. And so having this little these temporary panels here is a good idea. Keeps them contained here until they get used to the sights and sounds of this place. Come on, cowies, try some. Good girls. Still haven't decided. It's always the difficult part when I get a really nice looking, ideal keeper heifer, then it's hard to part with them. The ones that have some kind of an issue, that's not a big deal. You can part with them easier, but when, I get to, if you're saying to yourself, it's a shame we have to sell these, then it's difficult to do. Get it, Creamos. Is it yummy? Somebody's got to have some. Don't want any? So I walked around the perimeter fence, over there where the stackyard is, where we fed the others last year, and checked the fence all the way around and the gates and so on. And in this little house pasture here on the front lawn, the way farmers do it, checked all the fences, closed the gates. So I'll leave them in here for about an hour, till I see maybe one of them lays down, and then I know they've relaxed a bit, and then I'll let them out. We haven't had any frost here yet, so we're still, in fact, having the flower garden is still blooming. My wife planted 3 apple seeds, and I got a spare one, and so things are still happening. We got roses are still blooming in the Caribou region. There you go. Look at that one. I don't know how many we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 roses on one stem. What do you think about that, Finn? Yeah, there's still plenty of flowers going on here. Look at that. Oh, yes. So while we've got them in here, let's have a really good look at them and why I chose them. You see this one's Bonnie. See how she's a little bit, I said in one of the shorts, I said she's a little bit husky, and that's what I was referring to is her front shoulders. She's a little a little wide at the top there, you see, compared to her. And you want a heifer calf. I asked this old farmer, his name was Ralph Sapp, and he was from Montana, and his family had immigrated when he was a kid, and had done very well for himself as a rancher in the Central Caribou region of British Columbia. And I don't know, I hadn't taken over the farm yet, and so I was like, so how do you choose your heifers? Because I was choosing, you know, the ones that were the biggest and beefiest and heftiest, and the problem if you do that is you want feminine traits, and I didn't know that, and so you see that's Cremo there. She's a little husky too. You see how her neck kind of humps up a little bit, and I let that slide because her mother has a tremendous track record of raising beautiful babies. But you want them to be a little bit narrower on the... I asked this old Mr. Sapp, what do you look for? And he said, they got to have a Fenneman look. And I said, Fenneman? What is that? Some kind of a scientist or something, a cow scientist? Who's Fenneman? And it was because he had a hard time saying the word feminine. And I can understand that. It's not that easy to spit out. But and I said, so what? How does a cow have a feminine look? And he said, it's got to look like a girl cow, you know, like in the cartoons. It's got they got a little bit of a more slender leg. You don't want big, heavy bones, and has to have a little bit of a U in the neck, as opposed to being arched up like a bull. And so a U in the neck, a little bit wider on the back and narrower on the front, and she has to look like a girl cow, not you know, if it looks like she'd make a nice steer, then that's not the one to choose. It has to look like a girl, and then you'll have your feminine traits, maternity instinct, milk production, etc. Those things will be improved. And if you go the other way, she'll be a little bit less fertile, and you'll compromise fertility, etc. And so they have to look like a girl cow when you choose your heifers. It's very important. Like little dots here. She's a girl cow, aren't you? Very much a girl cow. The whole D line is very much like that. And I also choose for temperament. If your mom is a super crank, you lose points for that, because you might turn out that way too. But the only one, except for Cremo, her mother's the one we call mustn't touch it, but I don't dock her for that, because I think she got cattle prodded or something. She was not born on the farm. I bought Curly and Sue as a pair of replacement breeding heifers, rather than because I needed more cows, and I had a bull that I particularly liked, and I was at the end of my rope. I had to have some more breeding heifers, and without causing inbred situation, so I bought some, and that was the last time I did that, because I much prefer to hand raise mine, and they're handleable. And Curly is a perfect example of why. I mean, she's lived at the farm for 12 years now, and she still won't let me touch her because of whatever. And I've never smacked her or done anything to her that she wouldn't like, but no, she won't let me touch her. But Casey, her baby, when I hand raised her, she's, because I overdid it a little bit, I really laid it on thick, and she's just the pet cow there ever was. And I want them to go back and forth, in and out of there, and get I don't want them to be afraid of the trailer, that terrible thing. And so the little cage is turning to work out really well. Let's see, how much have they... Oh, 3/4 of that is gone. A little bit left in there. And this one's mostly gone too. So that was a very good idea. This, keeping them captive here for an hour or so, is a good plan. Well, it turns out I didn't have to let them out. Sage stuck her head through there and kind of got it stuck and opened it herself. And so now they're going to go around the back side and check things out. So I'm on them. And they're going to be so curious about everything and get into trouble, very likely. Go on, you don't need to be here. There's some nice clover around the backside. They can eat that. Away you go. Good girls. But there's still some pickings here for them. A little bit. See, they go charging all over the place. That was the idea, to leave them in that cage for a while and get them to just relax a bit and not be so panic stricken. They are the lucky ones. They get to be weaned in the penthouse, where the ones that you just take from mom and you take them to the auction, they don't get any such wonderful treatment at all. And that's the part that makes me feel bad, but reality has to kick in at some point. And a wee bit of housekeeping to get them ready for the oat trough, ready for their arrival. We'll get that out and put some grain in here. Not too much, just a little bit. Something so that if somebody comes to look in here, there's some grain in there and they get that idea. Right, Finn? Yeah, right. There we go. Okay, some grain. And then somebody comes to look, there'll be something to find. Terrible when you go looking for something and you don't find anything. Isn't it? You can put that, Finn. Alright, bring it on. Hasn't been cold enough yet, but these little, see those little white berries there? We call them buckbrush. I don't know what the botanical name for them is, but after the first frost, they get really sweet and they just go for them. Cows do like to browse. They like to eat a stick now and then, or a rose bush or something. Are you watching, Finn? Be gentle, be nice. Cows are really used to him. They stick together. If you just have two, the herding instinct doesn't work so well, because one cow looks at the other cow and that's not a herd. But if you have 3 or 4, then they'll bunch up quite tight and the herding instinct works to your advantage, because they don't get that wandering eye quite so bad. Do they, Sage? Yeah, what are you looking at up there? That way up there, up this power line about a mile, is where that's that big flat area. Check the video out called The Great Cow Escape and you'll see up there. And I wonder if sometimes they can't hear cattle from way up there. I can't hear anything, but maybe they can, or smell them or something, because often you'll see a cow looking up there with a funny look in their eye. It always makes you want to check the fence. Look at that. They figured it out already. They just need a little taste. Not too much. Yeah. Now they know I can come and grain them here a little bit every day, and they'll get the enzymes that they need built up in their digestive tract in just a little bit. Like half a dozen mouthfuls each for about a week. There's no point in risking it. There's plenty of green grass they can eat. But then they can have this grain, and it helps them when they're weaned off mother's milk. Oh yeah, I know. Hey Dots, is it good? You like it? Good girl, you get it. Oh yes, and the very next day, the bawling has commenced. Missing Mom. But they did all get acclimatized to grain. I gave them their little bit this morning. Probably about a cup full each, a little bit more, maybe a cup and a half full each. And they were all willing to come to the trough and have it. So now I've let them out. And a couple of them are willing to try some grass, but sometimes for the first day all they do is bawl for Mom. They're not interested in anything else but that. Isn't that right, cowies? Yeah. What looks like a little Bonnie, and I keep calling her Dots. She's not Dots. Dots was the one from last year, but she just looks like Dots. Her name is Ditto. Exactly the same as Dots. And so they run all over the place, calling just in case. Maybe Mom will be over here or something. And that'll last about 3 days. There's plenty of grass for them to eat down there, and there's a little bit of water in the creek for them. But they're fairly preoccupied with the idea of where is my mom. So my neighbors are happy with me about that. Have some grass. That's a girl. So we've got Sage, Primo, Bonnie, and Ditto. Here she comes. Don't get left behind. You won't like that. And I do. I let them right on the front yard, on the front lawn. Just so I can keep a close eye on them and make sure that they transition. They're spoiled. Oh yes, they are. Very, very much so. But I keep them in this house pasture, in the one over on that side over there where the hay... Shh, I'm talking. Where the haystack is, because that's a 5-wire barbed wire fence. They can't get out because, oh, they will for the first 3 days. They'll climb through a knothole. They check every little corner. It froze last night. I was out onto the sun deck and there was ice in the rain, the little bit of rain that was left on there froze solid. My farm is maxed out now. That's I can't handle anymore without somehow getting some more productive pasture, and that's why you've seen me with that excavator tidying things up and renovating the irrigation system to try to squeeze every blade of grass out of the place. There she goes. Did you find some, Dittos? Get it. That's a girl. They're not that interested in eating. They're interested in trying to find a way out of here because they're quite sure Mom is not very far away if they could just get out. When in fact, the big farm is about 27, 30 miles from here. Gollies, what are you doing? Stop testing my fence, you bad girl. Get out of there. Puts her head right through. So, no, stop it. It's that Sage. She's the one. She got her head stuck in that little those little temporary panels that I put them in when I unloaded them yesterday. She stuck her head through there, and it was a slight rodeo that I didn't manage to get on film, but they're having some buckbrush. They like that. I showed them yesterday. They look like this. They're little white berries. And now that there's been a frost, those little berries, they get really sweet. They're not very nice I've tried them in the summer. They're not poisonous, but they just don't taste good. And then I've tried them after the first frost, and they're considerably sweeter. So it makes sense why they go and pick the buckbrush berries after the frost happened. So, wherever you are, from all 5 of us, have a happy day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.